Come on to Zibby's Lounge. Come on to Zibby's Lounge. Come on to Zibby's Lounge.
Hi, I'm Ungazi and you're welcome to the Zibby Show. Thank you for tuning in. Like I always say, I'm very grateful for the support I get from you all. Thank you for tuning in. You know, whenever I see that people are listening to the Zibby Show, I just feel an overwhelming gratefulness in my heart, because when I started this show, I had no idea it would get to the level it is at right now. I just had so much on my mind, and I figured that a lot of people were going through the same thing, you know, considering our society right now in Nigeria. So thank you very much for tuning in. I'm sorry, I might sound a bit angry, so I'll apologize in advance. Today we're going to be talking about the Nigerian Immigration Service exam, or as I would rather call it, the Nigerian Immigration Service Massacre, because that's what I think has happened. But first up, let's do a recap from last week's episode. Last week, we spoke about the alleged Obesere rape. Now, like we said, no one can be, accused of being a rapist except that person, is convicted in a court of law. Now, while I think Mr. Obesere has every right to defend himself if indeed he's innocent, I really thought it was tacky and insensitive to actually go on a newspaper and give a report or an interview saying saying no, while he didn't rape her, he admits yes, they had sex and it was very nice. I mean, that to me is disrespectful to people who have been raped worldwide, especially in a country like Nigeria as well. I mean, it's left to the courts to prove him guilty. It's left to them to decide. But at the end of the day, when you make such comments, it seems very insensitive. So I would really hope Mr. Obesere would decline from making such comments until the case goes to court and then we have an outcome. It's okay to say, yeah, we had consensual sex, but it's ridiculous going as far as saying, oh, I enjoyed it. I think it makes a joke of the whole situation, and I would advise and plead that Mr. Obesere please refrain from giving such interviews. We spoke about the Boko Haram attacks, which, killed those innocent children at FGC Buniyadi in Yobe State. And since then, the attacks have continued. Nigerians have been dying and are still dying. It's terrible. I think it was a few days ago I came across a picture of some Boko Haram terrorists who were killed by the Nigerian army while trying to storm an army base to help their colleagues in criminality escape. Now, whenever I see such pictures or I see there's a warning about, graphic picture, I never click. But for the first time, I actually wanted to see. And I know this might sound a bit mean, but when I saw the pictures of those dead Boko Haram terrorists, I actually smiled to myself, because I feel like this is a war Nigeria can win if everyone is dedicated, if the government decides to tell us who exactly is funding it. I mean, President Jonathan has told us he knows the people funding Boko Haram, they're in the government. He said that years ago, and we're still waiting. Okay, moving on, I spoke about unemployment in Nigeria. I think it was episode 8 of the Zibby Show. I spoke about how difficult it was for people to get jobs, how people were being exploited. And it seems like things are getting worse. I mean, it's hard to read the news because every day it seems like, when there's a little positive, they're like, we go 50 steps backwards. We're talking about innocent Nigerian youth being sent to these states that have been declared war zones, like Borno and Yobe, places with a state of emergency where it's clearly obvious that those places are not safe, And then the NYC is sending people's children into those areas saying, oh, we assure you you're safe. Who is lying? If the Nigerian government is putting a state of emergency and sending the military there because it's not safe, can the NYC tell me why innocent children are being sent there to go and potentially die? Are you going to die for the country that doesn't care about you? What about the innocent NYC members that died, during the elections last time? Whatever happened? We were not even told there was 1 minute of silence for them, and now you're going to send more people to go there. Like, that's ridiculous, right? I really hope the people that make these decisions are of sound mind, because, these things are apparently glaringly obvious to anyone with a brain who can speak. You just want to do things anyhow because you can't be bothered. We have a serious problem in Nigeria and we need to sort it out, really. Anyways, moving on. This weekend was a very bleak weekend in Nigeria, thanks to the Nigerian Immigration Service exam. And I do exam with my fingers doing the in quotes. Like I said, I'll choose to call it the Nigerian Immigration Service Massacre, because I think that's what it was. That's what it is. Graduates are being exploited daily in Nigeria. The aim of the NYSC is to get some form of work experience. But when you're an engineer and then you're sent to a school to teach children, or you're sent to a local government to sit down every day and basically do nothing, and you're paid peanuts, what is the point of the NYSC? When you come out of school, all the jobs you apply for, they want experience. You know why? Because they're trying to avoid that cost of training a graduate. Every job requires training to get maximum potential out of it, maximum output. But because these companies want to just shirk around their responsibilities and pay people really cheap and tacky wages, they would say, oh, you know what, we want blah, blah, blah experience. And so when they eventually decide to take someone with a lower level of experience, they think they're doing you a favor and decide, okay, you know what, you won't get paid for 6 months because it's training. That has happened, and it's still happening in Nigeria. People work and they're not paid their salaries on time. Sometimes they're not even paid at all. It's regular in Nigeria. It happens all the time. I know people it has happened to. And people are forced to seek alternate means of living. Because, when you have a job and then you realize what you're being paid is not enough to sustain your family and yourself, or maybe you're not even being paid, you're owed 6 months salary and you can't leave because you can't forfeit the amount owed, there's just wasted workforce potential in this country. Everything is wasted. You see youths are so intelligent. They've got amazing ideas. But you know what? No one is even willing to give them a chance to try that out. I mean, this is a serious problem. And that's why these days people will do anything. I mean anything to leave Nigeria. It was, I think, last Sunday in the morning, I was watching a program on NTA, or maybe 2 weeks ago, about something called desert storming, where people actually walk through the desert to get to Europe. And the man that was, narrating his experience, it was sad, because basically, he got in one car. He was supposed to get in another car, and someone said, oh, no, get in this one. And he got in the other one. And the one he was supposed to get in, everyone got murdered on the way. This happened, a lot around the countries, maybe Chad or something before they got to Libya, and then tried to cross over into, that area of Spain. I mean, it's ridiculous. Everybody just thinks, I'm sorry, but I'm upset. I'm upset that Nigerian youth spend and suffer and toil, even with strikes. Maybe you're supposed to get done with uni in 4 years, and then you get done in 6 years, and then you wait for your name to come out on the NYSC list. So basically you're waiting maybe another year or two before you're eligible to work in the country. And that's 4 years wasted. And then after that 4 years, you come back, okay? I've done my NYSC. I waited 1 or 2 years to get for my name to come out because of population, carryovers, blah, blah. And then you get the NYSC done, and then you can't get a job. And then in order to get a job with Nigerian immigration, you actually need to pay. Yes, the applicants are that, there's a song that's coming to my head right now. It's basically people thinking, I need to get out of Nigeria by all means, by any way possible. I need to get out of Nigeria because, things are just so tough. And I don't blame them. But because, they have these make-believe ideas, sometimes people that live in other countries try to make it look like, oh, life's the bed of roses where I am and stuff. And people don't really know that. You can't just, even if you find your way abroad, again, in quotes, you can't just expect the money to fall from anywhere. You need to work hard for it. But because they've seen a lot of people living these false lives, and there's so much expectation back home in Nigeria, there's so much responsibilities, some people turn to crime. it's such a shame, but that's exactly what's going on in our society. So, you know what? Before we start talking about this whole issue with the massacre of innocent Nigerians by the Nigerian Immigration Service, I think we should listen to this song by Precious. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
On the story, about one boy named Johnny. Johnny been the hustler for Nigeria, but Johnny biggest dream not to go Yankee. Johnny get the business for Nigeria, but Johnny just a complain every day. No light, no road, no water. Johnny come decide to walk a come out Nigeria. Johnny come selling houses, selling motors, selling land. Johnny even borrow money from one of him party and his family. Last year, Johnny finally gets the visa. Johnny shout hip hop before you go know Johnny get it back from London. I don't land show me where them plants the money. Make I start to the clock the money. As per Johnny just come. I don't land Hajibola show me where the money there. Make I start to the chop the money. As per Johnny just come. Where the money is? Hajibola show me where the money is. Where the milk and the honey is. As soon as Johnny enter for London, everybody start to look at him like bunker. Johnny start to the hustle, from train to bus, Johnny just the bustle. Johnny come to remember Niger, he remember him go for Niger. Johnny was a big boy for Niger, but now for London, money just the hard Johnny. Too much light, but too much bills, Put up on top of that, the people for home still they ask Johnny for pounds, I don't land, show me where them plants the money, Make I start to the clock the money, As per Johnny just come, I don't land, Hajibola show me where the money there, Make I start to the chop the money, As per Johnny just come, where the money is, As per Johnny just come, Johnny been there, things say the streets of London are paved with gold, But Johnny no realize, so you got to dig the pot to get the gold. The moral of the story be say, anywhere you're there, the hustle continues, There is no place like home, The world is enough for the world. Show me where them plants the money, Make I start to the clock the money, As per Johnny just come, I don't land Hajibola show me where the money there, Make I start to the chop the money, As per Johnny just come, I don't land show me where them plants the money, Make I start to the clock the money, As per Johnny just come, I don't land Hajibola show me where the money there, Make I start to the chop the money, As per Johnny just come, where the money As per Johnny just come, where the money As per Johnny just come, As per Johnny just come, As per Johnny just come, As per Johnny just come.
And you're welcome back. That was Precious with his song Johnny Just Come. I feel it sort of sums up quite a lot about the way we think, or maybe all the answers to our problems are abroad. While I understand that life is very difficult in Nigeria, when you go abroad, do not expect it to be a bed of roses. Yeah, sometimes it's way easier than it is in Nigeria, but please always try to do the right thing. Do not expect that manna will fall for heaven. You can't just, arrive in whatever country you go to and expect that, money's waiting for me somewhere. It's not. You need to work hard anywhere you are. Okay, let's move back to the topic at hand, the Nigerian Immigration Service Massacre, as I choose to call it. In my opinion, I think that's what it was. Anyways, after this, we'll talk to witnesses, people who were at these centers, these, what would we call them now? These massacre halls in 2 different states in Nigeria. We'll talk about that. We'll talk to them, hear their opinions, and while they give us the first-hand information on what exactly happened. And I must add, we have pictorial evidence as well, which will be up on Facebook and Twitter. So the Facebook for the show is at Zibby Show. Twitter for the show is at Zibby Show, and Facebook is facebook.com/The Zibby Show. So right after the show, please check back on the Facebook page and the Twitter page, and you would find these pictures to collaborate the evidence that we have currently. Okay, let's start from, the beginning. Basically, Saturday, 15th of March, 2014, people were, invited to these centers in different states in Nigeria, 5 different areas in Nigeria, to sit for an exam, which would, consider them getting a job with the Nigerian Immigration Service. Now, like one of the witnesses says, this text inviting them was only sent on Friday. It was sent on Friday, the 14th of March, and people were told to arrive on Saturday, the 15th of March. Yes. Okay, so apparently the Nigerian Immigration Service has some vacancies, has a vacancy for about 3,000 people, and the turnout in Abuja alone was over 65,000. Yes. And now we need to remember that these exam centers were scattered, in different regions in Nigeria. We've got Benin, Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja. So, yeah, your guess is as good as mine. But I think one of the shocking aspects of this massacre is the fact that people actually paid. It's the first time in my life that I'm actually hearing of people paying the government to get a job, but we'll address that shortly. So let's go back to a rundown of this whole situation. So basically, these people turned up. I don't know how they expected to manage the crowd, but 65,000 people in Abuja, between 40 to 60,000 people in Port Harcourt as well, all turned up to, have a chance to sit for this exam and get a job. Now, that shows that there's a huge problem in Nigeria. It shows, high unemployment rate, people are basically jobless. Sometimes when we say unemployed, it's a polite way, but let's call it what it is. It's jobless. People have no sources of living, or wherever people are, they just want to move on and get something better. Well, unfortunately, we've gotten reports that 6 people died in Abuja, and there are reports that 5 people died in Port Harcourt. Conflicting reports, we've got between 5. Some radio stations are reporting as 5 people killed, and others are reporting as 4 people killed. So it's a bit hard. And we know how it is with, information. The media, especially government-regulated media, always finds a way to sort of hide the true nature of things from us. But, okay, just to confirm, the centers for this that I'm aware of are Lagos, Kaduna, Abuja, Asaba, Benin, and Port Harcourt. So those are 6 regions that we are sure these things took place at. Of course, if you live in, let's say, Akwa Ibom, and there's no station around you, it means you have to travel to the nearest place, which might be Port Harcourt. And shockingly enough, people had barely 24 hours notice. So we can imagine that some people either chose not to go or couldn't make it. But we've got large numbers of people. And you know what? Let's just speak to the witnesses, because right now I'm just confused. Our first witness is Miss T.A., as we would call her. Don't go away.
Okay, hi, Miss T.A.
And by your
Please tell us
experience,
about your
how many
experience
people
at
do you
this
think immigration exam center?
Wow.
Okay. How many officials were in place? How many officials?
By the roadside, under the bus, about 50 officials for over 10,000 people.
Wow.
When there was nobody, they were not 100 at all. The guy met nobody was saying anything. They were just broke out. These people started the shit for other race. It was silent on yesterday. It wasn't an examination. So we have to come. We were excited before March past, and you can just name it. Kung Fu fight, anything. Anything you can think of. We were so entertained. Who is in the garden? Like, we were just huge. nobody was. So it got to a point we didn't know how the towel was moving into the stadium.
Okay.
Of course, the replica of 1,000 naira, people were gasping for breath. People held it and started running around the field that. So we're there for like about half. Paid 1,000 naira. Was eventually opened. Even the EFCC, at that point, the official started finding their from one. They didn't know what was actually happened.
The riot.
Yeah. So they had to took the house to leave the stadium. I noticed that they were no more on the field.
Okay.
So after a while, the questions were raised. And like I said, the official traveled
Since
everything like they so people got tired to conduct the real examination to hit. To get to hit was terrible. I went out. I was begging for my money.
Exactly.
They knew how much they had in their account when we were applying, and they could not make provision for the huge crowd.
They actually sold the application forms.
We applied online and we paid 1,000 naira per applicant.
Wow.
Yes, it has been happening. This is not the first time.
There were reports that there were casualties. Did you hear or see any casualties while you were at the stadium?
Yesterday morning, while people were trying to climb the fence to access the stadium,
Yes.
we saw some officials trying to bring out some ladies. They were gasping for breath, but I didn't know what eventually happened. But before the end of the whole exercise, I heard that during the stampede, because I wasn't close to it, I had to move back.
Yes.
The people that were there said a pregnant woman was the first person to die.
Oh
At the end
my
of the day, they took them to National Hospital. About 7 people lost their lives. Not to count the number of people that were rushed out.
Yes.
That fainted right
Wow.
on the field while we were inside the stadium. About 4 that I saw.
Yes. Okay, I need to ask, because some pictures that came online, we saw people dressed in white. So I was wondering, are those pictures actually from the examination centers, or are they pictures from NYSC camp?
The information they put on the website was that we should come with exercise clothing that is fit for exercise.
Okay.
So I think people misinterpreted that, because I didn't wear any white and white. I've started for how many years now? I just wore my polo shirt or my joggers and trainers. I knew that I could exercise with.
Okay.
People just misinterpreted the information and started buying white and white, like NYSC. They are going for NYSC orientation.
Okay.
They didn't specify. They just said clothes that is fit for exercise.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay.
At the end of the day, there was no exercise of any sort.
Were there any medical teams before the stampede started?
No, I didn't see any ambulance until we entered the stadium.
Okay.
I didn't see any ambulance, but when we entered, I saw about 3 ambulances just parading. So the people that were fainting, the ambulance, they were carrying them and taking them away.
All right. So at the end of the day, did the exams hold?
It held. What they did was they separated us according to our qualification. They said the BSc upward, we should go to the upper part of the stadium.
Okay.
And the ND, NC, and school start should come down. So they thought, actually, maybe they saw happened in the morning, the stampede and all that. So I attended to the BSc first. After we submitted our papers, they didn't give papers to the lower cadre people. So they allowed us to move out.
Okay.
So after moving out, that was when they started the agents, so that there won't be much stampede like it was in the morning.
Okay. So what time did you leave the stadium after your exam?
After the exam, I left around past 4.
Wow. So you were there from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Yes, I left past 4.
Okay, and there were reports that people were selling pure water as much as 2 for 50 naira.
Yes, pure water 2 for 50 naira, gala 100 naira. I remember I bought a can of Mortina for 250 naira.
Wow. Okay.
So they just hiked the prices, and this Mortina was not even it wasn't a cold, it was not refrigerated. So we were still rushing to buy it, even though it was not high.
Yes.
We were still rushing because you needed to put something in your tummy. You've exhausted all you had on you. So
yes.
Just have to.
Wow, this is a terrible ordeal that, I mean, I can't believe that in 2014, Nigerians are still going through this kind of treatment by the government.
Yes, and to cap it off, none of their superior officers came there to even say, to check on what was.
Yes.
They officers down. They just sent them down. No inspection, nothing, no round check, nothing. As if nothing was happening. Probably they would just be in their house and be watching the TV yesterday after they've caused so much chaos, after they've caused so many people pain. These people that died, they left their houses.
Terrible.
Yesterday morning. Just, they never knew they were coming to die.
Ah, this is terrible. I'm
paying your debt with 1,000 naira application fee. And it was an eyesore.
No, this is terrible.
I just stayed back. I would have gone in there. I said, let me say, I want to see the end of it. I want to see the end of it.
Yes.
So, unfortunately for me, I had a very good place to sit. There was no sun. There was well covered. But the hair was already mixed.
Yes.
About 60,000 people in a particular place.
That's
we're just there, exhausted.
wow.
I woke up this morning. I can't go to church. I am very, very weak. I can't go anywhere.
I can imagine. After you wrote this exam, did the officials maybe apologize for the long wait or the incidents?
Even the officials were tired and said they need apology from their organ. I'm serious. In fact, some of them, they removed their uniform when the heat was much, just the inner, the white inner,
wow.
Them. To tell you, even it was very, very terrible.
This is terrible. This is terrible.
On our own yesterday. We're just on our own. No, keeping people for so long, you need explanation, you need to apologize.
Yeah.
No fault. We're just like it was a normal thing. Like we came at our own way.
Mm-hmm.
When you're tired, you go back home. That was the picture.
Wow.
To be frank, going to school is no more engaging.
Okay.
But while you are still at school, you expect your pocket money by the end of the month. But once you're out of school,
you're on your own.
God is ready to give you anything.
Yes.
And it's not even encouraging. You are not impressed because the people that have gone to school, nothing is coming forth to encourage the younger ones to be serious with their studies.
Yes.
So
Wow.
I would just advise, as you are going to school, be learning another trade or all this other what people do that does not involve going to school.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fashion. Go to fashion school. It's going to be a catering work. Go and learn it because the Nigerian government they don't have time for us. So that's the fact. They don't have us the youth in their master plan. Let me use that word. So as you are going to school, be learning a trade so that if the education is not going to fetch you money at that time, something else will do.
Okay.
Yesterday I was now reiterating that imagine it's just that I will never encourage criminality, but when you are frustrated,
exactly.
Nothing you cannot do.
Yeah.
Robert, imagine someone you finished school 6-7 years ago.
Yes.
Going from one office to the other to conduct interview and then at the end of the day. And to make it worse, all these private companies, because they know that the Nigerian government, they don't have anything for the youth. So they are they've taken themselves as God that the little we can offer, if you cannot take it, then you leave it.
Exactly.
Go and see the way they treat, and they use you like piece of flag and they hold you at the end of the day.
Yes. Miss,
we need action.
We do.
That's what we need.
I think the time has come.
That a protest will happen yesterday, probably will match to Aso Rock. If they want to shoot, they cannot kill over 60,000 people.
Yeah.
That's the fact. But nobody made move. We were just sitting there and we were comfortable. We were suffering and we were still catching fun out of the situation.
That's what a legend fella would say, suffering and smiling. I think the time has come for us, when we feel like we're suffering, we'll speak out.
Thank you very much, Tia, for joining us. And to everyone listening in, I must apologize for the quality of that interview. Unfortunately, it was conducted via phone as Miss Tia is currently in Abuja. And just in case, that wasn't clear enough, she is actually joining us on the phone. And of course, we all know the problems we have with our various networks in Nigeria. Making a clear phone call is a problem. I mean, you have your money, you top up your phone, you can't even make a phone call. You can't hear the person can't hear you. It's ridiculous. Anyways, back to the issue at hand. That was Miss T.A. joining us from Abuja, and she was a candidate at this massacre in the stadium in Abuja. And from what we've heard from her, we can see that it basically, there was something she said that really made me feel bad. She said we were on our own. And I've realized that sometimes as a Nigerian citizen,
you have no one to turn to. If you haven't got family that can support you, you truly are on your own. Even if your family can support you, you still expect, those basic things that your government should do. We expect we should have water, we should have light, we should have motorable roads. In fact, it's so strange these days. People don't even talk about water anymore because it seems like everyone has gotten used to the idea of never having water. And everyone, at least in the city I live in, Port Harcourt, almost everyone has their own water supply. No one does the whole water board thing because I don't think it even works. So if people can't afford it, people always go around to their neighbors to get water. Or people in some situations might have to buy water where water is not available. But I mean, it's ridiculous. You can't give us water, you can't give us light, you can't give us jobs. And I understand that people say you should create jobs for yourself. That is true, but I also need to emphasize on this. Not everyone is an entrepreneur. I mean, I've done a course on entrepreneurship and innovation, and some people just need that security of a 9 to 5. Some people are not entrepreneurs, so we cannot force them to be entrepreneurs because it's not who they are. It's not what they can do, So when we talk about, people trying to get a skill, yes, it's good to get a skill. I've got a skill. I mean, I love making fabric jewelry. And, someone said, you should turn this into a business. And I did. And yeah, I still do that, So it's something I loved. It was a skill I learned. I was doing it for myself. And then I saw the potential. I got the information. I'm like, why can't I make a business out of it? So yeah, I make Ankara fabric jewelry, clothes, shoes, and bags. And while it's a good idea, some people, unfortunately, do not even have the resources to actually be entrepreneurs. I'm not aware of any cases where you'd walk into a bank with a good business plan and they'd say, okay, you know what, we'll give you the money because we believe in your idea. No, they'll probably look at it, still your idea, and say there's nothing we can do, you haven't got collateral or, something, So we should try to be realistic. And Miss T.A., I can understand, wow. Let's just say we had some conversations and it's a very, very hard life. We'll take a short break now, and I really want us to get the message of Precious' song. So I'll play that song again, and when we come back, we'll speak to a second witness. Don't go away. We'll be right back. And of course, after that, then we go ahead and analyze the whole situation based on the information we've gotten firsthand from the witnesses. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Make a tell on the story, about one boy named Johnny. Johnny been the hustler for Nigeria, but Johnny biggest dream not to go Yankee. Johnny get the business from Nigeria, but Johnny just a complain every day. No light, no road, no water. Johnny come decide to walk come out Nigeria. Johnny come selling houses, selling motors, selling land. Johnny even borrow money from one of him party and his family. Last year, Johnny finally get the visa. Johnny shout hip hop hooray. Before you go know, Johnny get it back for London. I don't land the show me where them plants the money. Make I start to the talk the money. As per Johnny just come. I don't land the Hajibola show me where the money there. Make I start to the chop the money. As per Johnny just come. As per Johnny just come. Where the money is? Hajibola show me where the money is. Where the milk and the honey is. As soon as Johnny enter for London, everybody start to the look I'm like bunker. Johnny start to the hustle. From train to bus, Johnny just the bustle. Johnny come to remember like that.
All right, so can you please tell us which of these exam centers, these immigration center exams you were at?
Okay, I was a part of the people that went to the Exhibition Stadium on yesterday.
Can you tell me, when did you apply for this job?
It was done precisely on the 12th of October 2013 online. online. I paid 1,000 naira.
Please go on.
The information will receive a text on Friday, which was on the 14th.
14th, yes.
So when they sent us the text and they asked us the Nigerian Immigration Service asked all applicants to come to the Exhibition Stadium for the exam.
Okay.
And they asked us to come by 7 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
White short, fully kitted.
Okay.
And so when we got there that morning, because of the crowd was just so much that in my life I've never seen that crowd. Even when football matches are going on.
Okay.
But the truth is that when we got there that morning, because they couldn't control the crowd, a lot of misunderstanding, the people that are having education, immigration staff, and we the candidates, because the crowd, before they asked all the graduates on one side, school sat on one side,
Okay.
HND on the other side,
Okay.
and before they finished, the time was almost around 2-3 o'clock for them to start checking heights and disqualification of a person.
Okay.
And so the first persons that went in at 7 to 9 o'clock, they are the people that had the stampede.
Okay.
Personally, myself, I was outside. I never went inside the hall because I know things that are crowded this way.
Yes.
Know what was going to happen. So I decided to stay behind to see the last people here. And so waited till that. It was around 2 o'clock. I even went into the hall. But I saw that people are fighting.
Wow.
There's people that are fighting, people that are immigration officers that are even giving out the exam space. So much, in fact, I see that yesterday, I'm not even getting myself because of the stress, the sun and the rain yesterday.
Yes.
All on us. And
Okay.
at the end, the whole exercise was just, I don't know, flopped. Let me use that word.
Did you still write the exam?
Yes, people wrote the exam under that condition. There was the people who are running helter skelter, we are dragging, fighting, just like that.
Okay.
Some people wrote, some people never did.
Okay, so did you see any casualties? Like, did you see anyone drop down, maybe pass out, or anyone scream for help while you were there?
I never, because since I didn't go inside, I never see something.
Okay, all right. But were there emergency services like, first aid? Were there stations? Okay. Okay. So I need to ask, how many of these immigration officers were, going to oversee this whole exam?
Sure, I think we asked him my own, we can say, I think I saw about 50 of them.
Okay. All right.
Wow, the people who saw there is more than, if I said 50,000 is understatement.
Wow.
I should be calling 60,000 now. Some people were outside and some people were coming at around at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
The whole thing was just here. Both graduates, both staff, HND holder, everybody just looking for jobs. So the job creation is a major thing in our society today.
Wow.
I would say Nigerians should try, anybody that's in charge should try and see the common man. We should leave this a man no man, the higher authority. Everybody, we should treat equally.
Okay.
And so whatever, if you have to set the exam, let us set the exam, and anybody that passes, well, we should not stop striving.
Okay.
Strive for the best. Yes, we should just strive for the best.
All right.
You're welcome back, and that was our interview with the second witness, Mr. James from Port Harcourt. So, I figured it might be a bit, it might sound strange if we just go right ahead and start, analyzing the situation since we weren't there. But speaking to people who had this information firsthand, who were victims and who survived and who were there, I think right now we've got the right to actually speak about this. Okay, so many problems are highlighted, but I need to ask. The Nigerian Immigration Service made these people register online. So they were aware of the number of applicants. They definitely saw the amount of money that was being generated by the revenue these unemployed people were mandated to pay. So each person paid 1,000 naira. Okay. I mean, I'm assuming if there was a technical glitch that, happened in the systems in IT, and they couldn't cap the number, I'm trying to think that maybe, just maybe, there's a finance department who would actually have an idea of how much is going into the account, or is it someone's personal account?
it's hard to tell. But if there's no finance department that was actually monitoring all this, then it means everybody sitting down there in the name of finance department are ghost workers, which is something very common in the Nigerian civil service. Yes. Okay. And, wow. I'm just amazed. I can't believe that this is 2014 and people are still being ripped off daily in Nigeria. You work for a private company, wahala. You work for the government, wahala. How are people supposed to survive? Okay, let's think about these questions. Why were these exams across the nation scheduled on the same day? I really, really want to know. If you've got 65,000 people who, you have applied for a job, who have paid to get a chance to get a job, 65,000 people, at least in Abuja, probably more. Because like I said, some people probably couldn't make the trip. Some people just decided it couldn't, it's not worth it. Some people came to the scene, saw what was going on and left. For all we know, it might have gotten up to about 80,000 or more. That's for all we know. It could be more, but at least let's say between 60 to 65,000 people based on reports. Okay, so we've got these people. Wouldn't the sensible thing to do be to, excuse me, they said a job for 3,000 people, right? Yeah. And from what Mr. James said, the text said all applicants. So there was no pre-screening process. Basically, anyone that had 1,000 naira to pay, that could afford 1,000 naira, was, invited for an exam. Now, can you tell me how credible such an exam be? Exactly. Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, so if we had 60, even if we had 20,000 people and you wanted to do the exams the same day, wouldn't it have made a lot more sense to split the people into groups? Maybe have 2,000 at one center, have 2,000 at another center, have 5,000, manageable groups. And then in a place like Abuja where you've got that ridiculous number and you've got about 50 people to oversee it, let's say less than 100, because Miss T.A. seemed to be very thorough because, she took pictures, she documented everything, and she said she saw about 50, but they were definitely nowhere near 100, which collaborates with Mr. James' information, which he's given us from Port Harcourt as well. He said about 50 people, definitely not more than 100. So I need to understand where on earth, are you going to conduct credible exams in Nigeria, basically, where you've got, let's not even go into that. But let's be honest, how do 50 people or even 100 people oversee an exam with 65,000 people? How likely is it? Okay. Why was there no pre-screening to reduce the number of people? Was it basically anyone who could use a computer, anyone who could pay? Anyone who could pay at a cyber cafe? As long as you could pay at a cyber cafe to get someone to do it for you, and you had 1,000 naira, you were automatically shortlisted. Isn't that a problem? Shouldn't there be standards? Of course, there are standards, but in this case, I think the Nigerian Immigration Service was just looking for whatever revenue they could get. So basically, they turned these applicants into cash cows, taking advantage of the high rate of unemployment in Nigeria. Another question. Why were they not done in batches? If you feel like, okay, it's a huge number, we've only got this stadium, why weren't they done in batches? Why weren't they spread over a week? After all, they had paid 1,000 naira for it anyways, Why was there no provision for emergency and first aid workers? People only saw the first aid workers after, hours of being in the sun, and maybe when there were some casualties and people injured, and that's when they found them there. Okay, let's talk about Abuja now from what Miss T.A. has said. She got there at 7 a.m. and she was late because the crowd was already massive. The official text was 7 a.m. She got there at 7 and there was already a crowd there. Remember, this takes us back to what happened in the Niger Delta regions, Port Harcourt, River State, and of course Yenagoa, Bayelsa State. This was covered in episode 4 of the Zibby show, when Sterling Bank duped young Niger Delta youth, telling them to pay 1,000 naira and the NDDC and the government will give them 100,000 naira within 6 months. Sterling Bank, after they were exposed on the show, Sterling Bank still refused to make any comment. They've still not created accounts for people. They've not refunded that 1,000 naira to people. Please, it's a whole messy situation. I'd advise you just go through the archives and try to find this show so you can listen to it and know what Nigerian youth are going through. And then Like Miss T.A. said, they were asked to come in exercise gear. I find this ridiculous. Really, really ridiculous. In a stadium with 60 to 65,000 people, where are you going to exercise them? What kind of exercise are they even going to do? And Miss T.A. said people were playing football, suffering and smiling. Now I'm telling you, if those people were dressed appropriately for like what you'd wear when you're going for an exam or an interview, I don't think they would have been doing that. Because, you sort of respect what you're wearing. I'm not going to go out and get an expensive suit and then, I come to write some random Massacre exam and then I start playing football. It just shows like they weren't thinking of these people at all. Like, I think basically these people, in a sense, lost their right to dignity as human beings yesterday, Saturday the 15th, thanks to the immigration. Because, wow. It's just so overwhelming. I'm sorry if I sound angry, but the fact is I am very angry. A lot of Nigerians out there are angry. So I apologize for sounding angry, but I have an opinion, and I'm sure a lot of people are thinking what I'm thinking as well. People in Port Harcourt, like Mr. James said, the sun beat them, and then the rain beat them as well. And then some people still didn't write the exams, and then people died. You know what? Let's forget everything else. People died. How does someone say to his family in the morning, oh, I'm going to write an exam. Maybe luck will shine on me this time. After you've paid 1,000 naira, and then they go to that place, and then next thing their family gets a phone call saying their son or their daughter is dead. Like, it's so hurtful. I can't believe this is happening in 2014. I need to ask though, why was a stadium chosen as the ideal location? Was it because of the exercise? Or because it was the only large space? Well, which means if you chose it because of the large space, it shows that the immigration service knew the amount of people that were coming, but they chose not to be prepared, because it's the normal way of treating unemployed Nigerian youth, NYC court members, like they're second-class citizens. That's the way it is. Okay. Now, can I ask the most ridiculous thing? Why on earth do people need to pay to get a chance to attend an exam? Not an interview, not to be sure they're getting a job, but to get a chance to attend an exam for a job by the government. Can someone tell me what country on earth this is done in? In 2014, how are people paying the government to get a job from the government? Like, this is ridiculous. And then Abike Dabiri, the senator, yes, she's a senator of something. Is it Diaspora Affairs or something? Yeah, and then she goes on Twitter, because seriously, these days, Twitter is so annoying, because I think it's like an avenue for any disgruntled politician to just go out there and say anything without doing anything. I think it's very hypocritical, right? So Abike Dabiri, who is a senator in Nigeria, I knew her from watching her on NTA many years ago. She's a House of Reps member, and she says, exploitation of desperate youth seeking employment, another pathetic result of failure of leadership in Nigeria. The House of Reps has passed a resolution asking government agencies to stop charging applicants for employment, but the executive did nothing. Your vote is your power. Use it wisely to bring about change in Nigeria. So what's this now? As far as I'm concerned, Madam Abike, based on what you've said, you're as bad as the rest. I'm sorry. Okay, the House of Reps passed the resolution. How does the lawmaking process even work? You guys need to tell us so we know what to do and who to contact. You sat down, you said it, but you're still saying there in the House of Reps, you're still getting the big allowance, you're still getting the big salary, you're still getting those perks. Have you ever tried to donate 1/10 of your salary? I'm not even going to say 1 month's salary. 1/10 of 1 month's salary. I'm not saying a whole month. Have you tried to donate it to see what you can do to create jobs in Nigeria? Or have you tried to donate it to see what can be done? As far as I'm concerned, I'm sorry. All those people in power, I cannot think of a good one. I think some people only... Now, okay, your vote is your right. What vote are we talking about? Let's be sincere in Nigeria. Do elections actually work? No, they do not. Why? Because they are rigged. They are rigged. So, I don't understand this whole your vote is your power. Let's be honest to ourselves. That's one problem we have in Nigeria. We are not being honest to ourselves. Elections are crap. Yes, Ngozi said it. We don't vote for people. People are imposed on us. So if you're with the Godfathers, good for you. If you're not, well, too bad. Learn to kiss ass and then maybe you'll get there. So this whole your vote is your power, is this trying to sway us, oh, don't vote for PDP, or is this the APC thing? I don't care which political party. As far as I'm concerned, all of them are a bunch of friggin' criminals. That's what they are. And they're exploiting Nigerian youth and they're killing us. I'm sorry, I think I need to take a deep breath. Okay. I need a few seconds. I'll be right back. You're welcome back to the Zibby Show, and no apologies for my anger anymore. I think I'm justified to be angry because I think, enough is enough. This has gone on for too long, and I'm sick and tired of it. It just seems like the young people have to pay the price these days. I mean, a pregnant woman shouldn't even be in such a scene, but we don't know what she's going through, we don't know how much she's struggling, and then she goes to see if she can get a chance of a better job, and guess what? She and her baby die in the process. Like, that's really annoying. I am angry, and everybody should be angry as well. You've got that right to be angry. I mean, I read something maybe about a few years ago about the Senate rejecting a bill asking where some person had asked that money be paid to qualified and suitable graduates who were unemployed. And they said no for just 20,000 naira. How are people supposed to survive? I do not in any way, shape or form condone violence. I'm totally against it. I'm totally against crime. But after this incident yesterday, do you know how many young people walked into that stadium hopeful, saying, oh, I might get a job? And do you know how many of them walked out saying, this is a waste of my time. That person is hammered. That person is hammered. And guess what? That's why the crime rate in Nigeria is increasing. You know the sad part? These politicians and the corrupt government officials are safe from it. You know why? Because they've got money. They can pay the police and the army and the Mopol and Navy, whoever, to pay and guide them. They can use their stupid sirens, drive on the wrong side of traffic because they've got those people for backup. But the innocent people, you and I, who are not in that league, who don't have anything, we're going to be the people who are going to keep suffering. We had 3 witnesses to be on the show today, but one of them chickened out because she was scared. And I said, no, it can be done anonymously. Just get your voice out. But she was scared. And after a while, I thought she was scared, but it just seemed like she couldn't be bothered. And I'm thinking, if you as a young person, if you as an old person, if you as a Nigerian, if you as a human being are not willing to speak up for yourself, who do you think would speak up for you? Why do you think the government would care about you when you don't care about yourself? We need to get the truth out there so people know what is going on. And if you're ready to sit down in complete ignorance and say, oh, you know what, I don't want to talk, this is not the first time it's happening. The road on my street was very bad, and I was upset. I was tired of sending tweets to all these government officials who should have been in charge with it and sending emails that no one was responding to. And I said, you know what? I'll just go and take clips of this road. I had people that were willing. They actually asked me to see those videos, like big people in the media. And I went out and I did it, and I tried to get interviews from people. But a lot of them couldn't be bothered. They were just going about their lives, and you could see them putting their feet in dirty water, cars getting banged up, like people were selling. There was nobody was buying anything because no way on earth is anyone coming down from a car to stop there. And I was like, what is wrong with you people? Why are you so ignorant? Why can you not speak? I think a major problem in Nigeria is ignorance. I believe the government, the corrupt politicians, use ignorance as a tool against Nigerians. And I think the time has come to not be ignorant. We need to speak. We need to do whatever it takes. If it means marching to Asarok, I'm going to get to Abuja. If I don't have money for a flight, man, night bus, here we come. Seriously, I think enough is enough. It's been... Wow. I'm just amazed. You pay the government. You pay your government, basically, to let you have a chance to come for an exam. Oh my goodness. I'll tell you this, I have a friend from Kuwait and we're having a chat, and unfortunately there was a conversation going on about lack of electricity in Nigeria, and he couldn't believe it, and he was like, Ngozi, you mean there's no electricity in Nigeria? And I said, you know what, yeah, there isn't. So a lot of people use generators. And he's like, oh, okay, the government gives generators. And I said, no, you buy your own generator. And he's like, you mean you buy it yourself? I said, yes. He's like, okay, does the government give you fuel? And I said, no, you have to buy it yourself. He was amazed because, it sounded like Nigeria is such a country that, eighth largest oil producer in the world, so many resources. You hear about how rich Nigerians are, and then you don't have stable electricity. And he said in Kuwait, basically from the day you're born, you start school, from nursery or whatever up to university, you never pay a thing. It's the government's responsibility. When you get out of university, it's the government's responsibility to ensure you have a job. So when you don't have a job, you get paid. So the government always makes sure there is employment, there are opportunities for people to get jobs, so they just don't get paid without doing nothing. So sometimes it might take people 3 months, but they always get a job. And even when they're not working, they're still paid as much as they would have if they were in a job. I understand Kuwait has got a small population, and obviously the leaders is not as criminal-minded as the ones we've got in this country, I mean, so when you're going to ask jobless people who are suffering to pay 1,000 naira, where do you think they're going to get the money from? From those that don't come from homes where they can afford it? Do you expect them to steal? And then they get lynched in the streets. Where are they going to get that money from? It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Can we now see why crime is just going out of control? You just hear about kidnappings, you hear about assassinations, robberies, 419, money rituals. The other day someone was caught with, he said 18 skulls or something. Like, people are desperate, and desperation can lead people to doing things they normally would not do. The society is desperate. You cannot secure people's lives and properties. I'm speaking to the Nigerian government now. You can't secure people's lives and properties. You condone pedophilia, but you're more concerned about what innocent, consenting adults are doing in their bedrooms. And then people are dying because they're trying to get a job. People leave their houses in the morning with their, documents, hopeful to get a job. And then they come back as corpses in the evening. Like, wow. And then this is the same government that would pay people to go on blogs to praise sing for them. And this is the same government that would pay people who say good things about them on blogs. Like, what kind of superficial, stupid life is going on? I'm so angry. I'm really, really angry. This is the country where people die daily because they cannot afford basic medical care. I read something about 2 years ago about a pregnant lady in Port Harcourt who died. She was pregnant at home with her husband, and then complications started. In a rush to get her to the hospital, he didn't go with any money. He was more concerned about getting her to the hospital. When they got to the hospital, they said, you need to deposit 60,000 naira. 60,000 naira. The man is like, okay, wait, let me go back home to get that money. Like, no, you need to deposit it now. Before he could go and come back, the poor lady died. That is it. You know what? It was 60,000 naira, but people have died for far less. This is the country where 4 innocent young men were killed in broad daylight, and every day we just keep hearing stories. Wow. You know what? I started this show because I wanted to inspire and motivate people. But yesterday, after I heard about this incident of young people dying because they were going out to look for a job, I felt so discouraged. I felt disillusioned. I was sad and I was upset. And I said, you know what, at this point, I think I'll just stop the show because I feel like, I'm sorry I'm getting emotional. I said, I feel like this is a lost cause. I feel like there is no remedy to the situation. I feel like Nigeria is done. We're at that point where nothing can be done, where people are going to pay the government because they're trying to get a job. God. And I was so sure I was not ever going to have another episode of this show. But after I spoke to Miss T.A., she said, before I spoke to Miss T.A., we had communicated via email. And, I sent her a link to my website. And she had seen some of the things I had done, some of the topics we had treated. And I'll just try to read out some excerpts from that email. And she said, I have checked your website and I'm so impressed. We need to splash our feelings into their faces. It's obvious they have no plan for the future of this nation. And when she said that, there was something in that email that made me say, you know what? I'm not stopping. Because, maybe I might be one of the lucky ones. But I'm not going to leave everyone. I'm going to continue whichever way I can to try to make a difference, to try to inspire people, to try to see what we can do to create that change. Be the change you want to see in the world. yesterday I was really heartbroken. And I thought I would never do the show again because I just couldn't find that motivation. But those few words she said to me actually made me realize, you know what? There are people out there that need to get their stories heard. And I'll make sure, in my own little way, we get those stories out, and hopefully we can get the change that we deserve. It's my world, it's your world. It's our life, and we should speak up for it. Thank you for tuning into the Zibby Show this week. Have a lovely week. Take care of yourselves, each other. Don't forget to spread the love. Until next week, aloha.